In this video, we're going to cover intrusion detection systems. So an intrusion detection system will look for suspicious traffic only, and it won't just drop the packets if it detects that they are merely suspicious. So you can have an external intrusion detection system that would be an outward-facing intrusion detection system before your internal firewalls, and then you could also have internal intrusion detection systems. Both of these are going to scan these packets, and they will log the packets that meet certain conditions. And then managers can view these logs to determine if any of these packets that have been scanned need to be addressed. Now, the intrusion detection system is going to send an alarm if the suspicious traffic appears to be serious. The problem is, with an intrusion detection system, you have too many false alarms, which can lead to alarms being ignored or the system being discontinued. Additionally, another problem is that it requires heavy processing requirements because there is a sophisticated filtering in order to examine these packets, including content and headers, as well as packet stream analysis to examine patterns across a series of packets. So an approach to address this is to use an intrusion prevention system, which also uses intrusion detection system filtering mechanisms. But an intrusion prevention system can also stop some kinds of attacks rather than just merely identifying them. It also overcomes the limitations of the IDS by providing the needed processing power. So an intrusion detection system is going to capture the suspicious network and host activity data, and it's going to provide logs for us. So the first thing that it's going to do is event logging. So individual events are going to be timestamped and recorded in flat files. Flat files are basically two-dimensional tables of data, such as an Excel spreadsheet. A lot of event logging is going to be aggregated from multiple intrusion detection systems, and this aggregation can help us identify suspicious patterns because of the series of events across multiple devices. Additionally, it also helps with automated analysis of events. So, for example, it identifies attack signatures which have known attack patterns so that we can block these, as well as detects anomalies through deviations in what we normally see in historical traffic patterns. Some of the actions that it can do is generate alarms, and it actually does that really well. In fact, almost too well that many of these alarms are considered false alarms and actually cause some problems because people begin to ignore these alarms thinking that it's just false for all of them. It generates log summary reports that kind of summarize things so that we can look at what our daily suspicious activity is looking like. And then additionally, it allows for manual analysis, which is more complex and requires a higher level of experience and analytical abilities. So when you're working with an intrusion detection system, you need to consider configuration, tuning, updates, performance, and storage. So you're going to tune things for precision to hopefully reduce the number of false positives, but you don't want to fine-tune it too much that false negatives allow attacks to proceed unseen. Additionally, you're going to continue to update it so that you have the latest attack signatures to block that specific traffic. You'll need to evaluate the processing performance because if the speed can't keep up with the traffic, some of those packets are going to be dropped and the IDS could basically be rendered useless. You'll also need to consider storage for these log files because all these packets that are coming in are going to quickly make these log files become big and reach our storage limits. So in order to address this, we may need to add more disk capacity where we can store the log files of these intrusion detection systems. Now, intrusion detection systems are distributed across multiple devices on the network, and each of these devices is considered its own agent. So for example, on a firewall, we could have a network intrusion detection system, NIDS. Same with on the switch, we could have a network intrusion detection system. Basically, network intrusion detection systems are going to capture and filter packets as they travel through the network. They're either on a standalone device or built into the router or switch, as we've shown you here. Both the switch and the router network intrusion detection systems can collect data on all ports. However, it cannot filter encrypted packets because its function is not to decrypt these packets and determine what's in that data. So there may be some blind spots where the network intrusion detection system cannot determine if there are alarms that should be flagged. Additionally, we have what are called host intrusion detection systems that capture and filter packets that are on a specific host computer. So they provide detailed information about a specific host, but they have a limited viewpoint only to that one host. If a host is compromised, the hacker could potentially go in and disable the intrusion detection system without a person knowing. So a lot of these host intrusion detection systems are going to collect data on the operating system events and log them, such as multiple failed logins, creating new accounts, adding new executables, modifying executables, adding registry keys, changing or deleting system logs and audit files, changing system audit policies, tracking whether users access critical system files or unusual files, and changing the operating system monitor itself. Now, since you can have many intrusion detection systems on the network and across various hosts, a manager is what's going to be very helpful. That's going to allow us to integrate the information across these multiple agents. Using this manager, we can look at an integrated log file that contains all the activity that was across the network and host intrusion detection systems. Additionally, we have vendors that are going to create new filtering rules, and these companies must download and install these filtering rules. This will ensure that we have the latest rules to protect against any attack signatures or any other issues that might occur. And this vendor is going to communicate via encrypted communication to the manager, as well as the manager is going to communicate via encrypted communication to devices on its network. So here's a sample log file from an intrusion detection system. I want you to go ahead and look at the packets here and see if you notice any suspicious behavior with this log. And then if you notice suspicious activity, determine if it is a human or automated attack. So pause this video, try this on your own, and then come back for discussion. All right, welcome back. So you'll notice here that we have 4 letters after many of these log entries. NIDS stands for Network Intrusion Detection System, and HIDS stands for Host Intrusion Detection System. So HIDS is on a device, NIDS is across the network. So you'll notice entry 2, 5, and 8 indicate that a user has tried to log in a couple times, which were failed logins, and the last one was a successful login attempt. So you'll notice the time between the first 2 is about 33 seconds, and between the second and the third one, it's about 3 minutes and 17 seconds. This indicates normal behavior and isn't something that we need to be completely alarmed about, but that's something you need to look into. If you're seeing a bunch of unsuccessful login attempts and the time between entry is so fast, you know that it is an automated attack. And then 16, 18, and 19, we have packets that are hitting sequential IP addresses as if someone's doing a network scan. This isn't necessarily a problem, but it could be alarm that we need to dive into and inspect a little bit deeper, because the time between these 3 is less than 6 milliseconds. Thanks for watching my video. Feel free to click the links here to watch the next video of the playlist, continue to the next playlist, or subscribe.